So being a person who sometimes looks at situations that seem to, feel like there's something more than what's being presented underneath, and, kind of like, I guess what's the right word? As a conspiracy theorist, right? I think people would potentially refer to me as a conspiracy theorist. Sometimes you feel like the world is gaslighting you because you see things very clearly and you're like, this makes perfect sense to me. And so I'm going to say it. And then when lots and lots of people come out publicly and they're like, you're crazy, dude. Like, you're crazy. And then other people are like, anybody who said that is an idiot. You're like, man, this really seems to make sense to me. And I can't tell you how sweet it is when you've been gaslit by everyone that you're nuts. And then 6 months later, video emerges and it's like, hey, who's nuts now, dude? Because Khamzat Chimaev has put out some statements. I don't even know if he meant to put them out, but there's a video of Khamzat Chimaev talking about UFC 277, where you guys may recall Nate Diaz and Khamzat were set to fight in very unique circumstances. And the entire card got reshuffled. Khamzat was supposed to fight Nate. He got shuffled down to go fight Kevin Holland. Holland was supposed to fight Rodriguez. He ends up getting shuffled and he fights against, what's his name? The Chinese dude who I like so much. And man, this is so concerning. Li Jingliang. Good God. And then Ferguson goes up and fights Nate Diaz. You guys remember all that, right? And I said, it's a conspiracy. This fit together way too well. And I say, here's the main thing though. Anytime that there is a conspiracy theory, you have to ask yourself why. That's the first thing I always start with, is like, is there a reason why people would be doing this thing that seems to be happening? And if you can't answer the why, then just there, that's kind of the way that I differentiate between kind of like lunatic conspiracy theorists and smart people who recognize when there's a work afoot, right? And so, I mean, listen, dude, like I was as firm a believer that Jorge and Colby's thing was a work as anybody. And, apparently that was not correct, but certainly it could have started as a work. I mean, like, dude, if you go back and watch my early videos that I did about that, where like you really watch how the beef developed, it seems so obvious that at first it at least started as a work when Colby's calling him a journeyman and they're like, wait, why are you talking about your best friend like that? He's like, are you serious? He's like, no, he is my best friend. Like George's my best friend. Nothing's ever going to change that. We troll each other. And it was like, and then all of a sudden they had a beat. So, look, like as soon as George punched him in the face at the steakhouse, it's a pretty hard position to defend. However, UFC 277, right? We've got one of these like, oh, well, look at that. Look at that. Did Khamzat just admit exactly what I said? Like literally exactly what I said. At least exactly what I said was the why, right? So he didn't fully say, yeah, I missed weight on purpose. As a matter of fact, he didn't say that at all. However, the entire basis of my conspiracy theory was a certain argument, and Khamzat, which has never been admitted before, just straight up said in an interview that Dana secretly told him XYZ, which is exactly what I said. Exactly what I said. And so I'm going to show you guys that interview, and then I will show you some footage of myself saying it before, and I'll tell you exactly what I said before. Like, I'm going to tell you what I said, then I'm going to show you the video of Khamzat, then I'm going to show you the video of myself, and we will, call it a day. But before we do, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and also, just subscribe. Tell all your friends. Click the button one time. You will forget about it, and I will appreciate it. It's literally it's the thing that makes me feel best in the world. Like sometimes I'll just like refresh it, and just like if it goes up one, I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. If it goes down one, I'm like, God damn it. It's seriously true. It's embarrassing. Anyway, so let's talk I need to thank Youll Create Him also, because Youll Create Him is the best Kratom source on the interweb. You guys ain't even knowing about that Youll Create Him. If you're a Kratom user, then you already know. I don't tell people what Kratom is because I don't suggest people use it if they don't know what it is. I literally don't even talk about what it is. But if you know, then you know. And I'm telling you that Youll Create Him is the best source on the internet. It's the best source in the world. It's 5 times cheaper than what you would get in the stores, and it's just as good. I just ate some right now. That's why I look so happy. YoullCreateHim.com. Check it out. It gets here in 2 days. It's as reliable as Amazon. 2 days. It'll be delivered at your doorstep, 100%, $60 kilograms. Give it a look. You'll Create Him. All right, so here is where we start. Okay, so if you recall UFC 277, right? So Nate Diaz has gone into this fight card fighting against Khamzat Chimaev under incredibly weird circumstances, okay? Why on earth would a 38-year-old, very experienced fighter who has not won in years, right? He hasn't had a win in years. Why would he be fighting against the hottest, most dangerous prospect in the entire division in this fight? It made no sense, except it made perfect sense, right? It didn't make sense as a matchup, though. Okay. The reason why that fight was made in the first place is because Nate was on the last fight of his contract. Okay. The UFC was holding out. They didn't want to give him his final fight because they didn't want him to become a free agent. They wanted to keep him. And now with Nate, doing a boxing match with Jake Paul, we see exactly why. They knew he was potentially going to go get a big payday and potentially lead to additional people looking for external ways to make money outside the UFC, but also they want to make money with Nate. They don't want him fighting somewhere else and them not capturing that revenue. He's one of the biggest stars in the history of the UFC. So here's exactly how this happened, and here's exactly why I believe that it had been a work. It's because I had been paying very close attention to that. The sunset clause in the contracts was a new thing that Francis just demonstrated also, which is new in the newest UFC contracts. They have a sunset clause, which means that no matter what the terms of the contract are, once it hits this certain date, the contract is nullified, and you are not nullified, but it's over. Like you could have an 8-fight deal if you've only fought 3 times, but it hits the sunset clause date, it's done. You're a free agent. Okay. Now this was new, right? As of like only the contracts that have been done in the last 5 years had them, right? So the day that it got announced that Nate Diaz had a sunset clause in his contract in October, right? That day, I might be getting that date wrong. I believe it was October though. That day, it got announced Khamzat Chimaev versus Nate Diaz is in the works. And I just played that out backwards. I was like, all right, so Nate's been saying they won't give him a fight. That just got released that his sunset clause is coming up in October. Hunter and them realize, okay, now Nate might realize he doesn't even need to fight this last fight of his contract. So we actually need to give him a fight. So let's give him the hardest possible fight. We'll do it against Hamzat. Let's see if he'll take it, right? Because so it was honestly like a negotiation ploy, right? And also when a guy is going to fight the last fight on their contract, always the UFC tries to devalue them on the way out, right? You try to devalue that asset on the way out. Because to the UFC, that asset belongs to you, right? Like that asset belongs to you. Like you built Nate Diaz. Without the UFC, where's Nate Diaz? I completely understand that way of thinking, right? But like, so from a business perspective, you want to devalue that because they don't want them using it against you. So that you give him Khamzat. You also are calling Nate's bluff. You're like, oh yeah, you want out that bad? Here, fight Khamzat. So it's not like this was like traditional matchmaking when they made that fight at all. It's not, like that's not how you normally make fights, right? And so from the beginning, it's not like that was a fight that was like, I don't think they really thought it was even going to get made. That's why as the fight was coming up, and I'm just doing this as a refresher because I'm sure people don't really remember this, but as the fight was coming up, there was no one on that card. No one. You had Nate Diaz versus Khamzat, and like, it was the most empty pay-per-view card you've ever seen, like leading up to the fight. That's why they added those fights at the end. The Kevin Holland one, the Li Jingliang, because I think the UFC was gambling that fight wasn't even going to happen. They were going to scrap the whole card, right? And so as Nate is like Nate's down, he's down to do it, dude. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna beat Khamzat. So they're like, all right. And as this thing comes creeping up, they're like, oh, we got a real fight coming up. And as this thing comes up, the other thing that happened is the MMA media started hammering the UFC over this fight. Hammering them, right? And so when you and what they were saying is it was unethical. Like they're like, this is unethical that they were making this fight, right? Unethical. And the point that they were making is like, why would you send Nate in there? Like this makes no sense, right? Because everybody's just saying like Khamzat's going to beat Nate's face in, right? He's going to demolish him. And it's unethical. Now, I disagreed with that and still disagree with that. If Nate wants to take that fight, he has the right to take that fight. Bisping said the same thing. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, but at the same time, you have to think about the PR and the look for the UFC, right? So in the event that Nate went in there And Khamzat beat the living shit out of him, really fucked him up, right? Which is exactly what could have happened because Nate is so fucking tough, right? Nate is he's like the toughest fucking guy on earth. Game bred to the bone. And Khamzat is a smashing machine. He's going to take Nate down. He's not going to be able to submit Nate because Nate is a, elite black belt in jiu-jitsu. So he's just going to get punched in the face over and over and over and over and over and over and over. He's going to be bleeding everywhere. He's going to be coming back out. Fuck you. I mean, it was going to be gnarly, right? And that would have been backlash that the UFC was not prepared to deal with or just did not want to deal with. And so they're like trapped into this fight. So that was my base. The basis of my entire thing was I was like, look at the situation they were in. If that fight actually goes off and Khamzat smashes his face in, the UFC is going to face biblical backlash, biblical fucking backlash, right? So that is why I believed that the entire thing was a work, because then it's like, wait, Khamzat Chimaev missed weight by 8 fucking pounds? 8 pounds? When has anybody ever missed weight by 8 pounds? Especially a professional like Khamzat who's never missed weight before and he goes up and down 85, 70, no problem. That doesn't make any sense to me, right? So, and then the other thing is you have Kevin Holland and Rodriguez at a fucking catch weight of 180. Why? You know what I mean? Why would they have that fight as a catch weight? Right? Like there were people clamoring for this catch weight fight. And then it turns out that Li Jingliang ends up fighting Rodriguez, who, Daniel Rodriguez is a 170-pound fighter. So it ends up being a, 170-pound fighter fighting against a 170-pound fighter. And then you've got Tony Ferguson goes up, fights Nate. You know what I mean? Like it all just worked out way too perfect. So that's why I thought it was a work. Okay. Now Dana he called Schaub an idiot and crazy. He called Miletich a conspiracy theorist and fucking idiot. He called all of us, he didn't call me by name, obviously, because hopefully he didn't see me say it. Because I'm not trying to be on the wrong side of him. But he said anybody who thought that was a fucking idiot, right? Now, here is what I'm going to show you today. I'm not a fucking idiot. I was never a fucking idiot. I was actually on it, dude. I was fucking on it. Because now we're going to look at what Khamzat said in this interview and we're going to review, okay? So let's watch this really quick because I am not an idiot. I'm smart.
Ту ночь там 900 граммов осталось, и это не смогли убрать. И потом нам сказали, Диаз не будет драться. И все мне позвони, пока ничего Хамзат не говорит, ты будешь с Кевином драться. Если ты сейчас скажешь, что весь не смог сделать, Диаз отсюда вообще избежит.
Критика со стороны не фанатов, а самого промоушена была, там, может быть, Дэна...
Не было. Да, после боя Дэна Уайт сразу пригласил меня в комнату, сказал, я даже рад, что так получилось. Если ты с Диазом подрался, то это очень плохая ночь была для него. И для UFC он сказал, не такой хороший вариант получился бы. Как будто мы его поставили, типа, чтобы ты избил, и да, убил, и нас хотели бы говорить.
All right. So, guys. So I'm just saying, like, hypothetically, if you were going to say, like, hey, dude, Jesse, on a scale of like 1 to 10 on how hard you completely nailed that, I would put that at like a 9.99, like a 9.99, right? Because again, what he said is exactly what I said. So we're going to watch it again really quick, and I will pause it this time just to make some points. Also, look at his face. Because here's the one thing, is he definitely, like I'm saying, he definitely did not say that he missed weight on purpose. He, in the conversation, is saying that the weight miss was legit. So that's fine. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that it was a work. But what I am saying is that my reason for believing it was a work is 100% legit, because Dana himself went to Khamzat and in private said exactly what I fucking said. So I'm not crazy. I'm smart. I'm just saying that because it sounds so fucking ridiculous, dude. Oh my God, tell us how awesome you are, Jesse. I'm fucking joking, dude. I mean, I'm kind of not in this case, but it is meant like a joke. You know what I mean? Like, it's what you do. You gloat with your friends, dude. Don't be dicks. All right, so let's watch this again really quick. Hang on.
Ту ночь там 900 граммов осталось, и это не смогли убрать.
Hang on a second. You know what we're going to do, actually? We're going to go like this. oops. We're gonna go like this. We're gonna go like this, you guys. And then we're gonna go like this. Beebadoo. So we could stop and talk. All right. So we got that night I had 900 grams left to lose and I couldn't shed it. Then we were told Diaz wasn't going to fight. Okay. Cool. UFC called me and said, don't say anything to anyone, Khamzat. Whoops. Sorry. He wouldn't say anything. You'll be fighting Holland. If you say now that you didn't make weight, Diaz is going to run away. Okay. So already they're conspiring, you know, like they're conspiring. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, obviously, but I'm just saying because look, like, yeah, I mean, you know what? I'm not even going to speculate whether or not he missed weight on purpose anymore because it doesn't matter. Like, this is it, but look at his face right here, dude. I'm just saying, like, if I was going to be like, you know, is the last domino there? Like, did you miss on purpose? You know, are you telling like 90% of the story and just not the final fig leaf that you did miss on purpose? Maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying. And the only, and honestly, again, I just want to make perfectly clear the reason why I have continued, you know, like right this second, I can continue to at least entertain that as being the case is because he's such a professional. Like Khamzat Chimaev, of all the people who would come in and miss weight by 8.5 pounds. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean this as a compliment. I mean all of this is a compliment, as a matter of fact. The fact that they pulled this off is it's amazing, dude. Whether the weight miss was legit or not, this was a masterclass of problem solving. Whether you were just solving the problem of you've got your main event missed by 8.5 pounds, or much more impressive, you realized you were on a fucking freight train into a cement wall and somehow you figured a way out of it. You gave Nate a perfect fight. You gave him exactly what he should have gotten. Respectful, you know, solid other, you know, another legend opponent who probably got a pretty big payday and deserved it. And yeah, you know, Kevin Holland, who got worked over by Khamzat, he got so much money that he's happy. You saw that. He's like, I'm going to retire. After that fight. So like, anyway, it's a masterclass. But again, like that's my biggest problem with the whole thing. Khamzat Chimaev missed by 8.5 pounds. Come on, dude. Yeah. So Dana invited me to his room and told me I'm even happy that this happened. Had you fought Diaz, it would have been a very bad night. Like Jesse said. He said it would have been a bad option for both parties, UFC and Diaz too. It would have looked like we put him in there to get killed and we would have become hated. Correct. It would have been a PR nightmare. Okay? PR nightmare. Now, in case anyone thinks that I am fabricating the fact that I, called this absolutely to a T, let's just see what I said. This is from, let's see, what's the date on this? This is from 7 months ago, this says.
Rounds, whatever, and Nate ends up unable to continue, a bait dog that has no fucking legs, pulverized.
By the way, I didn't mean bait dog. I meant a game. I was calling him game bred earlier. Like I was saying that he's like a game bred human. So what I meant there was a game bred dog that could no longer continue. I definitely 100% did not mean, I didn't mean that Nate was a bait dog by any stretch of the imagination. So continuing.
Into oblivion. Dude, the UFC was going to face backlash like they've never seen in the history of the company. Bottom line, like they knew that. Because if they were saying that beforehand, absolutely without a shred of doubt, if Khamzat really put it on Nate and hurt him, you're talking real backlash. Like not just like not just about like backlash of like I don't know, not just like you're gonna lose. You're like lose fans. Like you're like legit lose fans. So, and so I mean, at the end of the day, so it's like, okay, do you think it's more likely that they randomly shuffled the deck the night before the fights and ended up with a way better fucking fight card, or that there happened to be a fucking catchweight 180-pound fight on the card, that Khamzat Chimaev for the first time ever misses weight and puts on one of the most historically bad weight cuts in history while being seen out in public eating fucking food and drinking fluids the night before? You know, like, do you think that that's more realistic, that he just completely said, fuck it, like, I am not a professional anymore, I'm just gonna go out and eat with Darren Till and these guys, and then, oh.
So that, I was talking more about the fake thing, but
he's never been stopped, is because there is absolutely no quit in him whatsoever. And so what that means is the way this fight was very likely going to play out is Khamzat was going to take Nate down and was going to beat his face into oblivion. Okay, it's unlikely that he was going to be able to submit him because Nate is in black belt jiu-jitsu. So what's going to happen is he's going to get taken down, and Khamzat is going to absolutely fucking pulverize him for fucking, as long as Nate could withstand it. And eventually, Nate was eventually going to wilt, and he was going to fucking get stopped. And it was going to probably look very similar to the Glover Teixeira and fucking Anthony Smith fight. And at that moment, now you have to go back to the UFC. Oh, dude, this was an unethical fight to make, right? All of those opinions that had been out there, okay? If they said that beforehand, after Nate got beat. All right.
that jumped because because my phone overheated. I remember that, dude. I had it like on my thing, like I have like a stand that like you stick it in, and on my way to jiu-jitsu in the afternoon, the sun is coming like directly this way, and it just pulverizes my phone, and so it overheats, and it just like shut down for like 5 minutes. Then I got back anyway. But yeah, so that is exactly what I said, and it's exactly what Dana confided in Khamzat about. So like whether the weight, you know, maybe like I said, maybe the weight cut, the miss was legit, but either way, I'm not crazy. Okay. I'm not crazy. My head was in the right place. So I am definitely defensive about people breaking my balls over my conspiracy theories. But look, dude. So when I get a little tidbit, this is like this is kind of like when Alex Jones found the guys like burning the owl in effigy in Bohemian Grove. And if you don't know about that, well, I'll tell you right now. Alex Jones, you guys may know him, conspiracy theorist, who has been called crazy a million times and certainly 100% is crazy. But one thing he wasn't crazy about is he said that they were burning an owl in effigy at Bohemian Grove, and he snuck out there, you know, like all the elites out there burning an owl in effigy. He snuck out there and he caught it on film that he was right, dude. They don't even, I mean, now they don't even hide it anymore. You know, honestly, like looking at the way that the world is kind of shaping up right now, it feels like maybe we need those elites in America to do that, because now we have all the elites doing it at the global level and they're crushing the United States, as opposed to the United States, you know, kind of staying dominant because of those guys. Who knew that we needed to, you know, we should have been rooting for these guys. Anywho, so that's what I got. You guys are my favorite. I love you guys.